are at war. We need a team. Guys, you miss me?
Hey guys, this is our mini review discussion of the Avengers. I'm Bryan McBallz. With me I have Jordan Wade.
Hey, what's happening?
And Mike Roninphan.
Oh, hello guys.
We'll keep this free of major spoilers, but we may mention some minor jokes and dialogue about the Avengers film. So let's go ahead and dive in, guys. We'll start with the writing. Mike, how did you feel the writing was this on this Avengers Coalition film?
Well, it kind of surpassed my expectations. I'm a big Whedon fan, so I was always expecting good jokes and banter, but I really liked how he was able to, tie in the dialogue together for each character and bring out their personalities. And each of the jokes and stuff like that worked for every character. For example, there's one line when Captain America, he's been struggling the whole movie because he's a man out of his own time, so he doesn't get a lot of things, how computers work and whatnot. So they were in the discussion around the round table with all the Avengers, and Tony Stark mentioned flying monkeys to Thor, and Thor was like, what? He doesn't understand because he's from Asgard. And then Captain America just chimed in, and he was like, I got that. I know what that means. And everyone just looks at him, and he's like, what? I got it, finally. So I thought that was great. And it's stuff like that. One scene where Iron Man helps Hawkeye get a lift up to one of the buildings, and Hawkeye just he goes, give me a lift, Iron Man. And Iron Man just okay, pucker up, Legolas, and just grabs him and takes off. So I laughed for 10 minutes almost.
Yeah, Jordan, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I thought the dialogue was amazing. There are some moments. There's actually one moment in the helicarrier at one point in the film where everybody starts chiming in. They're all kind of overlapping with each other, but it works so well. It's just everything that's being said is so character specific, and there's just kind of this harmony of character dialogue, which I thought was pretty awesome. There are some great jokes throughout the film, and all the lines have a purpose. I didn't feel like there was anything superfluous about anything. So the dialogue drives the story along, and I would say it was very well written.
So I agree with both of y'all. I mean, Whedon's ability to write dialogue for a very diverse cast is such a great thing, and I think that worked really well for this film. And the good thing was, I never felt like any of the characters were overshadowed, per se. I was afraid that Black Widow and Hawkeye were going to just be left in the dark.
Right.
Kind of just like side characters, but they had their moments too, and it was just a great thing to see.
Right,
Yeah.
That was always a concern with watching the trailer for the Avengers. Everyone's thinking, you got a super soldier, a demigod, Iron Man with his armor, and then Hulk. What would Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow and Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye do for the movie at all? To me, Hulk was my favorite character, but Hawkeye was the biggest surprise to me. And that's what I loved about it. Every character had their role fulfilled by Joss Whedon's writing. They all had purpose. Every line of dialogue was not an empty joke. They all had meaning behind it or led to a reasoning for the character's thought process. So I really enjoyed that.
And just overall story, I mean, like I said, we're keeping it spoiler free, but were you guys satisfied with the story that was told in this film?
Overall, the story was fine. I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward. You kind of know what you're going to get. You want the whole purpose of the movie is to see the Avengers come together and defeat evil, and to that end, it's fine. As far as pacing, I had some major issues, specifically with the first act. And I think it just comes down to that they're trying to set up the movie for people who may have not invested as much as many of the films, all the films that the rest of us have. And so they want to flesh out each character and so that way people know who they are and what their background is. But I felt there was a little too much fleshing out, and maybe it's just one of those things where it's it is what it is, and you're not going to be able to. There's no way they could pull back without alienating a good portion of the audience. But specifically between Thor and Loki, there's 10 minutes where they're fleshing out their characters, and I felt like we spent a whole mediocre movie on that. I didn't want to spend another 10 minutes on it. I'm tired of Thor trying to reason with Loki. Loki's just he's messed up. Just accept it and move on and kick his ass. That's pretty much all I wanted him to figure out.
Well, yeah, me and you discussed that. You had a issue until the action kicked off, like halfway through the movie almost. And for
Right.
me, the exposition for that beginning part, I actually enjoyed it, because I know they did rehash some stuff, but there was interesting ways of how they went about doing it. Agreed, Loki and Thor was the weakest one. The reasoning for Thor returning to Earth was kind of weak to me, also.
Yeah.
So I won't go into why Black Widow going to go capture or enlist the Hulk, Bruce Banner into it, and his whole, Mark Ruffalo's acting was great in that scene when she tried to enlist him, and he gave a great performance. I also finally liked that she actually spoke Russian. I don't remember speaking Russian. I could be wrong in Iron Man 2, but that was one of the biggest gripes me and my friends had. Is like, Black Widow's supposed to be a Russian ex-spy double agent, and they had no hints at it. But at least,
she actually says one sentence in Iron Man 2
in Russian.
She says like a quick joke to Tony Stark.
All right, yeah.
But it's really quick. It's probably like 5 words or so. It's really quick.
Her Russian accent wasn't that great either, but at least they hinted more at it, and they delved into her past slightly. Not too long, mind you, but enough to make you wonder.
Well, thinking back, I mean, I think the like opening sequences for all the characters, the only two I really had issue with was Thor and Iron Man, and I think it's just because I'd spent enough time with both of those characters. I was completely fine with the little setup we had with Hulk, because it has been a while since the last movie, and we've changed actors, so I thought that was fine. And the background for Black Widow, and even her scene where her introduction scene to the film, that was fine with me. It's just the pacing for Iron Man and Thor was just slow, and I think it's just because I already know the characters, I've seen enough of them. I just kind of want to see everybody team up and get at it. And so when that does actually happen, that's when the movie hits the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go ahead and segue into the cast. Let's go ahead and talk about who our favorites were. First, for me, I want to say Robert Downey Jr. stole the show, but close runner-up was Mark Ruffalo. I think he was awesome as Bruce Banner, and his dialogue was very witty.
Do you think he surpassed Edward Norton as Bruce Banner, though?
To me, yes.
Okay.
Edward Norton, to me, he comes off as more of a sympathetic and intense Bruce Banner. He didn't have any really humor for me, but Mark Ruffalo, he hits a lot of notes as far as he gives us humor. He gives us some sympathetic tones. You kind of feel bad for the guy, but he actually kind of plays Bruce. I get more of a Bruce Banner feel from this guy.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
And but everybody else did a great job too. And again, I want to highlight that even Scarlett Johansson and Jeremy Renner, I thought they were going to be kind of left in the background and overshadowed by the 4 main cast members, but they did an extremely well job, and I thought they did great. I think everybody played their part well, and even Loki, Tom Hiddleston, he was great as Loki. I thought he hit the mark.
Right, I agree. I mean, there's hard to find faults for many of the actors in here. I wish Sam Jackson would have had at least one curse word. The one thing I did like about Hawkeye, I seriously doubt DC could do a Green Arrow show or movie to surpass Hawkeye.
Kidding.
Yeah, simply for the fact of this. Every time I watch either a Justice League cartoon or read comics with Green Arrow in it or Hawkeye, I always question, how do they know that they're pulling the correct arrow without killing someone? Like, they're supposed to grab a smoke bomb arrow or something like that. Instead, they shoot a real one and kill someone. Always wondered that. They actually give an explanation for that in the movie. And it surpassed my expectations. I was like, wow, that was great. I thought they were just going to gloss over it.
Yeah. As far as the cast goes for me, I was actually pretty stoked when they announced they casted Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like going back to when like Heath Ledger was cast as the Joker. Like initially, it's like that seems a little odd, but I knew it'd work out because it helps. I'm a big Mark Ruffalo fan. There hasn't really been anything I've seen of any of his work that I haven't liked, and so I was pretty stoked about that. And he definitely delivered, it was nice to see. I'm a big Jeremy Renner fan. Again, another actor that hasn't done any wrong, and so I was glad to see he got some decent screen time as Hawkeye, and he did an awesome job as that character. And y'all have already touched on Tom Hiddleston. I mean, he's in his short career, he's done some pretty good work, pretty stellar work actually. Playing Loki in both Thor and the Avengers, and of course he did some work in Midnight in Paris. Yeah, he did well as a villain, and really the cast as a whole. I mean, even for a big budget film, the cast is really impressive. Just the sheer names, but they seem to really get along, but also they seem to be enjoying the characters they're playing and playing their specific roles. So there's no way you can really knock the cast.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the verdict, guys. Mike, what's your final word on the film?
For me, it's 5 out of 5. That's all. For the simple reason, it's not Dark Knight, mind you. It's not a thinking man's superhero film compared to that. But to me, how often is something this epic going to be along? That we're able to tie in 5 superheroes together and make finally the Avengers movie everyone's been wanting to see. It's probably going to kick off the summer very well, and I would say definitely go watch this. You won't have a bad time. I guarantee that.
Jordan?
I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5, but too good. And it's fantastic. And everybody should see it, especially if you're wanting a good time, then you're going to have it with the Avengers. I just have to knock it because the first act did drag a little bit for me. And also avoid 3D if you can. 3D doesn't really work too well with this film, but the film as a whole, I would say it's a too good.
Yeah, 3D was horrible.
And I'm going to go ahead and say I agree with your rating, Jordan. I'm going to give it a too good also. Just because it's no, like I said, it's no Dark Knight. There's not a lot of depth to the movie,
right.
But at the same time, this is an action movie done right, and this is a comic movie done right. I don't think there was many areas they could have improved this as far as the Avengers go.
Especially considering Joss Whedon was one of the original writers for the Avengers in the early '90s. So suck it, Michael Bay, do it right.
Yeah, I mean, this just dwarfs Transformers for me. I mean, Transformers looks like just awful garbage compared to this. And it's just a very fun movie. Lots of action, lots of good comedy bits. The dialogue was excellent. And definitely you have to see this, especially if you have been following the Marvel Avengers movies so far. Hey, if you guys like this review, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, you can visit us at ultness.com. or follow us on Twitter at Ultness. See you next time.